and unceasingly invites the passers-by to purchase. Whoever wishes to buy or to look at things sits down also in the front of the booth. The merchants are very good-natured and obliging. They always willingly unfold and display their treasures, even when they notice that the person to whom they are showing them does not intend to become a purchaser. I had, however, imagined the display of goods to be much more varied and magnificent than I found it, but the reason of this apparent poverty is that the true treasures of art and nature, such as shawls, precious stones, pearls, valuable arms, gold brocades, etc., must not be sought in the bazaars. They are kept securely under lock and key in the dwellings or warehouses of the proprietors, whither the stranger must go if he wishes to see the richest merchandise. The greatest number of streets occupied by the followers of any one trade are those inhabited by the makers of shoes and slippers. A degree of magnificence is displayed in their shops such as a stranger would scarcely expect to see. There are slippers which are worth 1,000 piastres a pair and more. They are embroidered with gold, and ornamented with pearls and precious stones. The bazaar is generally so much crowded that it is a work of no slight difficulty to get through it, yet the space in the middle is very broad, and one has rarely to step aside to allow a carriage or horseman to pass. But the bazaars and baths are the lounges and gossiping places of the Turkish women. Under the pretence of bathing or of wishing to purchase something, they walk about here for half a day together, amusing themselves with small talk, love affairs, and with looking at the wares. Without spending a great deal of money, it is very difficult to obtain admittance to the mosques. You are compelled to take out a firman, which costs from 1,000 to 1,200 piastres. A guide of an enterprising spirit is frequently sufficiently acute to inquire in the different hotels if there are any guests who wish to visit the mosques. Each person who is desirous of doing so gives 4 or 5 colonnati to the guide, who thereupon procures the firman, and frequently clears 40 or 50 guilders by the transaction. An opportunity of this description to visit the mosques generally offers itself several times in the course of a month. I had made up my mind that it would be impossible to quit Constantinople without first seeing the 4 wonder mosques, the Hagia Sophia, Sultan Ahmad, Osmaniji, and Suleimaniji. I had the good fortune to obtain admittance on paying a very trifling sum. I think I should regret it to this day if I had paid 5 colonnati for such a purpose. To an architect these mosques are no doubt highly interesting. To a profane person like myself they offer little attraction. Their principal beauty generally consists in the bold arches of the cupolas. The interior is always empty, with the exception of a few large chandeliers placed at intervals, and furnished with a large number of perfectly plain glass lamps. The marble floors are covered with straw mats. In the Sophia Mosque we find a few pillars which have been brought hither from Ephesus and Baalbek, and in a compartment on one side several sarcophagi are deposited. Before entering the mosque you must either take off your shoes or put on slippers over them. The outer courts, which are open to all, are very spacious, paved with slabs of marble, and kept scrupulously clean. In the midst stands a fountain, at which the Mussulman washes his hands, his face, his feet, before entering the mosque. An open colonnade resting on pillars usually runs round the mosques, and splendid plantains and other trees throw a delicious shade around. The mosque of Sultan Ahmed, on the hippodrome, is surrounded by 6 minarets. Most of the others have only 2, and some few 4. The kitchens for the poor, situated in the immediate neighbourhood of the mosques, are a very praiseworthy institution. Here the poor Mussulman is regaled on simple dishes, such as rice, beans, cucumbers, etc., at the public expense. I marvelled greatly to find no crowding at these places. Another and an equally useful measure is the erection of numerous fountains of clear good water. This is the more welcome when we remember that the Turkish religion forbids the use of all spirituous liquors. At many of these fountains servants are stationed, whose only duty is to keep 10 or 12 goblets of shining brass constantly filled with this refreshing nectar, and to offer them to every passer by, be he Turk or Frank. Beer houses and wine shops are not to be found here. Would to heaven this were the case everywhere else! How many a poor wretch would never have been poor, and how many a madman would never have lost his senses! Section 6